Samuel Stubbs, Yardbarker.com, Denny Samuel Stubbs, Field Level Media, Austin Samuel Stubbs, Yardbarker.
Welcome to the Scrum Session Podcast with Samuel Stubbs.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, wherever you are. I apologize for being a week off schedule already, episode 2, and we're already off schedule. But this is episode 2 of Scrum Session. Welcome to the show. My name is Samuel Stubbs. I am a NASCAR journalist for Yardbarker.com. This podcast is from the perspective of a writer, somebody that does still enjoy the podcasting side of things, though. I do want to say, again, I apologize for being off the pace already with this show. Our first episode came out a couple weeks ago, before the Indy 500, before the World 600, and we are doing this one after Nashville. So we are 2 weeks after the first episode. This is meant to be every Thursday, and it already is not. So I apologize for that. Life is chaotic. Life is busy, but we got some good stuff on this show. Our two special guests for this show are Rajah Caruth, Truck Series driver who won at Nashville, and Brandon Jones, who is a NASCAR Xfinity Series driver for Joe Gibbs Racing. So we're going to talk about those races at Nashville. We're going to talk a little bit about Truck Xfinity Cup, just a little bit. This is supposed to be 15, 20 minutes. We'll also give a short little preview of the Cup Series races, the truck race also at Michigan this weekend. Xfinity Series taking an off weekend. ARCA is racing. Won't talk too much about the ARCA race, but we'll go into the Truck Series race and the Cup Series race just a little bit. So the first thing I want to talk about is Mr. Brandon Jones. So the saga of Brandon Jones in the NASCAR Xfinity Series is very interesting, to say the least. This is a guy that starts off in Xfinity all the way back in what was it, 2015, 2016, driving for RCR. I believe he's now in his 10th full-time Xfinity Series season, an elder statesman of a series that needs one, a development series, the AAA series of NASCAR that does need those drivers, those Sam Ard type guys, not bushwhackers, but the guys that are consistently there, the lifers, your Justin Allgaiers, guys like that. So he is integral to the structure of this series. A couple years ago, let's go back to 2022. So about 2.5 years ago, that spin at Martinsville, when he gets spun by Ty Gibbs, that changed Brandon Jones's career. He was already announced to be moving to JRM, but I think that probably gained him a lot of fans, maybe some more members in the Brandon Jones fan club after that spin. He said it himself, and I think it's in this clip, that it was a rather inglorious exit and unforgettable exit from JGR. He goes to Junior Motorsports, and things don't go well. 2023, 2024, that number 9 team with Brandon Jones and the Menards colors was an afterthought. They did not sniff the postseason. I think they were 14th in points both years, but they did not come close to the playoffs. Don't get that fooled. Didn't come close really to winning a race aside from Charlotte last year when he was running up to Chase Elliott in May. But I talked with Brandon Jones and about his comeback. He comes back to Joe Gibbs Racing this year in 2025. And holy cow, did you notice the difference? A resurgent Brandon Jones won at Darlington, locked up a spot in the playoffs. Going into Nashville, when we recorded this interview and I wrote this article, Brandon Jones was 5th in the Xfinity Series standing. So let's hear from Brandon Jones, a resurgent Brandon Jones in his second stint with Joe Gibbs Racing as an older and wiser driver.
I thought, obviously that going to Junior Motorsports when I left JGR the first time, Junior Motorsports was on a big high. They were almost beating us every single weekend. At JGR, they had a lot of speed, and so I was learning at a quick rate at Joe Gibbs Racing when I was there the first time. Had a lot of success in the couple of years that I was there, had some wins, had a lot of poles, and kind of felt like I was like, okay, what's the, maybe there's something out there that's possibly a little bit better, right? What's the next step? How can I continue to push forward and try to align myself with a cup ride? Maybe at some point. I was thinking that there's a lot more Chevrolets than there are Toyotas. So, who knows? There's possibly more chances there if I get intertwined with this Chevy pipeline. And I got there and just didn't have what I needed, really, honestly. Like I never could fully, put all the pieces to the puzzle together and make it all happen and make it all come together. There was times where, my gosh, we had tons of speed. I don't think that was ever the issue. I don't think the they've obviously proven time and time again to have really fast race cars, even still to this date. They're tough to beat on track with the speed that they have. But it was just trying to get everything to work right. It's one thing that I've really come to find out and notice in this sport is, the driver could be at the top of their game. But if the little things that follow are just not quite up to par, then it just is difficult. You're going to have a hard time winning a race, and vice versa. If the crew's up here and the driver's down here, it's going to be the exact same thing. So it's all about trying to get all those levels to equal themselves, and just never could get all the dials to turn. So I was running out of time. I owed it to myself and to Menards. Right, Menards wanted to stay with us, but they did not want to continue to have years that we did. They pride themselves on winning races and being competitive every week and having at least a chance every week to win a race. And so I was fortunate that they wanted to stay with me through all of this. That could have been a killer to go through 2 years of no wins, and could have really hurt, my relationship there. But they were really, really awesome to us and wanted to stay with us. But like I said, wanted to continue to search around and try to get back to winning races. So I felt, looking at all the race teams and looking at all the people at different teams, I thought that coming back to Joe Gibbs Racing was my best chance at that. They had changed a lot of the things that they were doing when I was there the first time. There was a lot of new people that came into the organization. There was still the kind of the OGs, the original guys that I had, but then there was also a lot of guys that had came down now from the Cup shop that were Cup engineers, ready to have their shot at crew chief and cars. And so I really actually probably timed it really well to where I gave that a full year of like, let's let these crew chiefs maybe get their feet underneath them a little bit and have a year under their belt. So I timed it really good coming back, I felt like, and grabbing Sam McCauley as a crew chief. That was Denny's primary, engineer for a while there. And so he learned a lot from Gabe Hart and being on the Cup side and just operating at that really high level of intensity in that Cup series. And so he's done a good job of bringing that back down to the Xfinity side. But I was just blessed that the chance was still there. I know that my exit to JGR was one that probably no one will ever forget with the craziness that happened at Martinsville, but I never burned any of the bridges, whenever all that happened. We finished out the year strong. Was hoping to start the next year strong at a new organization, and just never happened, so I wanted to come back to where I knew that I could have some success.
Some great insight from Brandon there. I also had a chance to talk to Raja Caruth this week on the heels of his win in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race at Nashville. This was no win like Las Vegas last year, which was relatively easy. He didn't have anybody breathing down his neck. Raja led 61 of 150 laps in this Rackley Roofing 200 race, but he had Corey Heim and Lane Riggs breathing down his neck in the closing laps, one of which is a Truck Series championship favorite, one of the hottest prospects in stock car racing right now in Corey Heim. The other was Lane Riggs, who has become a title favorite, become a favorite to win every single week. Was there any pressure? Raja says not really.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there was any added pressure for sure. I think overall I just was hyper focused on just executing behind the wheel from just like literally just that. So I wouldn't say there was any added pressure for sure. Just wanted to get it bad for my group and the partners we have with HendrickCars.com and Chevrolet and the men and women at Spire.
That calm, cool demeanor going to be key for Raja Caruth as he continues to grow in NASCAR. So the Truck Series race, again, the story was Raja Caruth holding off the pack. Let's talk a little bit, maybe 1 to 2 minutes each, about these Xfinity and Cup Series races, shall we? So the Xfinity Series race, the first race all year, interestingly enough, to go under the 1 million view mark. 988,000 people watched this race on the CW. First race all year, again, like race 14, right? That's under $1 million. That's not bad. The Xfinity Series is in a great place with CW. Justin Allgaier in a great place. Some are saying, including myself, I think it's the best Justin Allgaier we've ever seen, at least as long as he's been an Xfinity Series full-timer. The man is 38 years old. He's coming off a championship in 2024, that long-awaited, elusive title. Finally gets it, and now he can't be stopped. 10 top 5 finishes through the first 14 races of the year. You look at races like Texas, could have been a 4th win. He does have 3 after his win at Nashville. I mean, he's great. He's dominant, and it was probably maybe the worst Xfinity race of the year at Nashville, which, they don't really have bad races in Xfinity like they do sometimes in Cups and Trucks when it's just a snoozer. They don't really have that. The Xfinity Series races are still, in my opinion, the best shows every week, at least, when they're not like Martinsville and don't devolve into chaos, but Allgaier dominated that race. On the Cup side, Ryan Blaney finally got a win, led 139 at 300 laps in Nashville in the Cracker Barrel 400. Got his first win of the year. Had a great battle with William Byron, and it was Hamlin, right, for the Stage 2 win. That was a great battle. Denny Hamlin finishes third in the 700 Cup Series start, but Ryan Blaney gets the win. Big win for Blaney. He's a guy now that, I think in the same vein as Allgaier, I think he got better after he won the championship. Usually the path you'll see drivers take, at least in my limited experience of watching and documenting the sport, is they will have that breakout year, usually a year or two before, if they win a title, usually a year or two before they win a title. And they'll win 5 races. Maybe they'll make the championship 4, get really close, and you say, okay, next year they're a favorite. This year they were the hunter. Next year they are the hunted. And I think Ryan Blaney, even after he won that championship in 2024, everybody was kind of iffy on whether or not he could get back to Phoenix, and he did. Another clutch Martinsville win. Got hot like Penske always does late in the postseason. This year was the first year where I feel like everybody came in, including myself, and said, okay, Ryan Blaney is a Cup Series title favorite. Using that word, favorite, not just threat, not just round of 8 guy, maybe a Final 4 guy, but threat, championship favorite. And he proved that at Nashville. Finally got that first one of the year in race 14. Surprised it took him that long. In all honesty, it should have come at Darlington. If Kyle Larson doesn't wreck in the closing laps at Darlington, Blaney wins Darlington. And this is his second one of the year that we're talking about. But a great drive from Ryan Blaney. I want to shout out Bubba Wallace, too. That 23 team had been down on their luck heading into Nashville. I believe 3 straight finishes of 30th or worse for a top 10 effort. I believe Bubba finished 6th right in this race. Great effort from Bubba Wallace to bounce back after a speeding penalty in stage 1, too. If that was 2022 Bubba, maybe even 2023 or 2024 Bubba, that team probably implodes on themselves. But Charles Nike in this 23 team, keep an eye out for them. They're solidly above the cut line. Michigan, remember Bubba won a pole there in 2022, was quick in that race. Probably could have won it. And this year, with probably a little bit better of a team around and better race cars, and, if you keep all the lawsuit outside noise drama out, which I guess we'll talk about that. That'll be the last thing we talk about here in a minute. If you keep all that noise out, maybe that 23 team could win. And his teammate, Tyler Reddick, could win as well. They are on a horrible stretch with that 45 team, though. They need a Bubba Wallace-esque Nashville run at Michigan. But Reddick, the defending winner of the Firekeepers Casino 400. Let's look at Michigan real quick. It's tough to pick a winner for this Truck Series race because I feel like if I pick Corey Heim, he won't win because I feel like I jinx people like that. I think Lane Riggs is obviously a worthy contender at this point. Rajah Caruth, too. We'll see what that momentum can do. But this wraps up a stretch of 6 straight truck races? I think 5 or 6. I don't think it's 7, but I think it's 6 straight truck races. That is a long stretch for these guys. A lot of these young drivers, teams that are maybe a little inexperienced relatively in the garage, 6 straight weeks of racing is tough. And it's not documented well enough how intense this competition is. This is war every week in the top 3 series of NASCAR, even in the truck series where maybe the payouts aren't the best. There's not always just a ton of people in the stands watching on TV or listening on the radio. This is war for these teams at 200 miles an hour. And this Truck Series race in Michigan is going to be another one of those, but it's going to be one kind of like an off day or, when you're coming up on like the All-Star break in baseball and you got that 1:30 first pitch game on Sunday afternoon when there's going to be 10,000 people in a 40,000 seat stadium. This is bigger than that because there's not 162 races in the Truck Series like there are in baseball. But I think this might kind of be like that. These teams want to get home, get a little bit of a break. They don't go to Mexico City. They do return at Pocono. I'll be at that race for Yardbarker, maybe bringing you guys some on-site content. So it's hard to pick a winner. I'll pick Corey Heim because I just feel like he's going to have the fastest truck, and he's already led like 800 some odd laps this year, encroaching on 900. That's just ridiculous. I think Mike Skinner is like 1,500 laps led in, I don't remember if it was the 90s, early 2000s when he set that mark. I think Corey Heim probably breaks that mark for most laps led ever on truck season. On the Cup side, it's hard to pick against a Ford because heading into last year's race, Ford had won 9 in a row at Michigan. Reddick in a Toyota broke that. But I feel like this is a William Byron weekend. He finished runner-up to Reddick there a year ago. It's crazy to think that without that Daytona 500 win, and let's be honest, that Daytona 500 win was came by virtue of the field wrecking in front of him when he was 10th. Without his win in the Daytona 500, William Byron has 0 wins this year. He's been so fast. He's the points leader by like, what, 40 points over Larson? Almost 50, I think. He's been insanely fast this year. He's been consistent, but he hasn't been able to get back to victory lane. Darlington's one that's probably a missed opportunity. Coke 600, same thing. Big missed opportunity there. But I think William Byron gets it done at Michigan this weekend. Last thing I want to hit on real quick, because I know we're getting close to our self-imposed time limit here. The lawsuit, the big news today on Thursday, when I'm recording this late at night, very late at night on Thursday night, was that 2311 and FRM might have to race as open cars from late June, maybe the Atlanta race, to for the rest of the season. NASCAR, that preliminary injunction that allowed them to compete as charter teams, that preliminary injunction, sorry, I can't talk. Preliminary injunction, it's hard to speak legalese, was denied by a federal appeals court or revoked. I don't really know how it works, guys. I'm sorry. I write what I see in the emails that I'm sent and the legal documents I pour over and still don't understand. But they could race as open teams, and financially that's big. And should there be 40 cars that show up to a race this year, or more than 40, they could miss a race. Now, if that happens in the regular season, they're still eligible for the playoffs, because the rule for playoff eligibility is you just have to attempt the race. You don't have to make it. You don't have to qualify for it. But obviously, that'd be big in the points if they miss one. I don't think they're going to, unless they wreck. They're not going to turn a lap slower than the Amerivet car, the MBM car, Jimmy Johnson, or maybe some of these other open teams that decide to show up. NY Racing, they can turn a faster lap, probably going 50%, just because of the disparity in the cars. Not a knock to any of those teams. It's just the disparity in the vehicles, the equipment would be big enough where I think 2311 could easily do that without having to overstep and possibly crash the car. I don't know if we'll see 40 cars in another race this year. Maybe the Summer Daytona race is a race, or maybe you see like the NY Racing car, the Beard 62 maybe comes out. But I don't know if you'll get, if there's 40, obviously they're fine. If you see 41 or 42 this year, I don't think we do. I think the 500 is, the World 600 is probably the only other one. Southern 500 doesn't really draw those kind of counts. Talladega won't. I think they're fine, probably. It's just financially, you're taking a major hit. It's like you get 30% of the money that the charter teams get. That math might not be right. Don't quote me. Don't sue me in NASCAR for that. I don't know if that figure is right, but it's a huge financial disparity if you don't get that money. But anyway, that's the big lawsuit news. 2311 front row likely going to have to compete as open teams for about the last 5 months of the year, 4 or 5 months a year. That's going to be big for them. So anyway, that wraps up episode 2 of Scrum Session. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Episode 1 wasn't able to get posted on YouTube. This one is. Subscribe to us if you're watching there. If you're listening, follow us, share us. We're getting this thing off the ground. Hopefully, we're launching. This is our maiden voyage, or it's not because it's episode 2, but this is still our maiden voyage season. Getting the training wheels off. So hopefully you enjoy the show. And email me for topics you want me to talk about, things that I can do to make the show better, because I'm still a relative rookie in this podcasting space. So please let me know what I can do better. I'm open to constructive criticism, or if you just want to talk wheel, we can do that too, whatever. But yeah, send us some topics you want us to talk about on the show, because we only have 15, 20 minutes, so I want to get to as much as I can, but also keep the conversation flowing and keep it light. So that's all for me. Samuel Stubbs here, the host of Scrum Session. Thank you all for listening. We will see you next Thursday. We will have an episode out next Thursday on time and on schedule. Goodbye.